Let's talk about separation anxiety. So, separation anxiety, to make things a little bit clear here, is when the dog, when the animal experiences stress related to the separation of its person, or the person it's attached to. So, in the case of separation anxiety with dogs, the dog actually has to experience stress related to its owner being away from it. That's what separation anxiety is. And it's not when the dog whines just because it's whining. A lot of people will mistake lack of crate training with separation anxiety. So they'll put the dog in a crate, the dog whines, and they just jump to the conclusion that it's separation anxiety. And that in itself is not separation anxiety. That could be barrier frustration. That could also be the dog is just not crate trained. So a lot of people jump to that. A lot of dog trainers, unfortunately, don't even know the difference between separation anxiety and the dog just whining for any other reason. So barrier frustration is not separation anxiety. The dog not being crate trained is not separation anxiety. When the dog actually experiences stress as a result of the owner not being there, whether it's crated or not, that would qualify more in the separation anxiety. So I'm not going to break down more specifically what it is because it's a more of a complex topic, but assuming you already have a pretty good idea of what separation anxiety is, and assuming you already have a dog in mind that experiences separation anxiety, the video that the I guess the rant or the video that I'm making right now is more on the topic of why people fundamentally like separation anxiety. And the reason is people in general, this is a generalization, people in general are very, very needy. They're very needy by nature. And you see this in Facebook posts, you see this in Instagram posts, where you see things along these lines. When I get home, my dog is so happy to see me, and I could really tell that he loves me. Or it's the only thing that is excited to see me. And you see people do this. When people get home and their dogs are all excited to see them, they feel loved. They feel like their dogs love them, like their dogs need them. And people like that. People crave that so much. And I guess this is, again, in general. Okay, not everybody's like this. I'm not like this. And I'm sure some of the listeners are not like this. But your average person has had daddy issues or mommy issues. Your average person has issues at work, at home, whatever. And so they feel pretty inadequate throughout the day, at least once or twice. And then when they get home, they get this rush of just, quote unquote love. And they get this rush of just excitement. And oh my God, you're so happy to see me. Who doesn't like that? Who doesn't like coming home and having their children going, Mom, Dad, I'm so happy to see you. I love you. I miss you. Well, of course it feels good, right? Versus coming home and you walk in and your children don't even notice that you came home, right? Obviously, this goes back to how needy are you. Personally, I don't care either way. I come home and my kids just say hi to me. They don't run to me and hug me. I don't need that. I'm perfectly okay with myself. But some people need it. And now you add to the fact that people sometimes don't have children, or if they do have children, they have children that they're not really all that connected or all that emotional, intimate. Now they really crave that. So they get a dog, or they have their dog, and they just love the fact that their dogs are very excited to see them. And what people don't understand is that is the seed. That's a seed that is potentially growing into a much bigger separation anxiety issue. And another thing to clarify about separation anxiety is some dogs are more prone to it. Some dogs are more inclined to have separation anxiety. I saw this video somebody posted. I just saw part of it. I didn't see the whole thing, but the video said that separation anxiety is a learned behavior, and that it is the result of you spending every single hour with your dog. And I agree with that to an extent. That's exactly how you make the problem way worse, or that's exactly how you start the problem. But it's not always the case. And the little part that I disagree on there is some dogs you could carry in your arms all day long, every single day, and they still will take off on you the first chance they get. And this is going back to something called temperament. Not every dog has the same temperament. So when I was saying some dogs are more inclined to do this, what I mean is more like your needy dogs. Your more needy dogs are more inclined to do this. Your more dependent type dogs, your more handler sensitive dogs are more inclined to develop separation anxiety. Whereas your more independent dogs, they're not really all that inclined to do that. So with the more needy type of dogs, the more dependent, handler-sensitive type of dogs, these are the dogs that, yes, if you spend every single waking hour with them, they're more inclined to develop that separation anxiety. You do that with a dog that is independent, you could do all the wrong things all day long, they're not going to have separation anxiety. So that's one thing I wanted to clarify a little bit about separation anxiety. So yes, it can be a learned behavior, I agree with that. But you also have to look at the individual temperament of the animal. And yeah, so that's why people love it. People are just needy. One of the things that I've told clients before when they were explaining to me what was happening, and I could actually see and troubleshoot, okay, this dog is not just whining to whine. This dog is not just, it's not barrier frustration. It's not this. Because a lot of times people say, oh, my dog has separation anxiety. And it really isn't. It's something entirely different. But sometimes you can pinpoint it to, okay, this is definitely separation anxiety. And what I'll suggest is, here's how I would prevent it. Here's how you can not only prevent it, but here's also how you can reduce it and even reverse it a little bit, depending on the dog and depending on how far the problem is. So one way to prevent it or kind of make it better is stop spending every waking hour with your dog. Require that your dog spends time by itself. Crate your dog. Have your dog spend time away from you. If you have a type of dog that follows you everywhere you go, knock that shit off. Give them a period of time, a few hours a day at least, where they are away from you. This could be a crate or anything else that is safe, obviously. You don't want to just leave your dog out and about and no supervision and then your dog gets in trouble. But as long as it's safe, that crate always is safe. Now, unless you haven't crate trained your dog, you don't have a crate, then that's another issue to address. But you have to ensure that your dog spends time by itself. Great way to prevent it, and great way to address it when it's not that big of a problem yet. Another way to do it is, so I tell people, and of course sometimes people give me this weird look like, what? And then I think to myself, this is why your dog has separation anxiety. It's because you can't fathom the idea of spending time away from your dog. So like your separation anxiety is just as bad, if not worse, than your dog's. Another thing I'll suggest is don't say goodbye to your dog. When you're getting ready to leave, people make a huge deal out of leaving. Again, this goes back to people being so needy. This is just how we are. You have to accept this. People are needy. This is why people love children. They love babies. They like to feel needed. This is why people like pets. They like that sense of something needs me. I get it. People are like that. So when people leave, that's one of the things they do is they go, "Oh my God, I love you." They'll give the dog a hug and then they take off. Well, when you do, especially with a needy type of dog, with a more dependent type of dog, and they're hanging out, and all of a sudden you go, "Hey, I'm leaving." Now you just got your dog's attention, and then you slam the door behind them. Like your dog could have been perfectly fine, just chilling, licking its balls, whatever it was doing, and then you could have just walked out, and everything would have been fine. But because you are needy, you feel the need to let your dog know, "Hey, hug me because I love you, and I need that reassurance emotionally before I face the world. So give me a hug, fulfill me. Now goodbye, you're on your own." That's really what's happening. So I tell people, right, and even if you don't mean it, that's actually what's happening. See, a child you can do that with. I can tell my children, "Hey, I love you. I'm gonna be back tomorrow, or whenever." And I'll tell them, these are the procedures if something happens. Right, I'll kind of go through my list. Have your phone on you. I'll hug them. I'll kiss them, and I'll tell them I love you. Okay, and they understand. They can rationalize that. A dog does not have the mental capacity to rationalize your words into ideas and into complex concepts for them to understand. "Oh, okay, you love me, you're leaving, and you'll be right back later." There is no such thing with a dog. So really, when you start telling your dog goodbye and hugging them and kissing them, you're really just telling them, "Hey, dude, let's interact. Let's do something fun. Let's do something great. Let's interact. I feel like doing something." Then boom, you slam the door in the dog's face. That's a big contrast, and that creates a lot of anticipation, a lot of buildup, and obviously it's not good. So I tell people, don't do that anymore. And then people again look at me like, "What? Really?" I've had people give me that look before, and this is one of the things that I talk about in class to some of the students, and sometimes I get the same looks, right? So don't say goodbye to your dog, because you're doing it just for you. You're not doing it for your dog. You're doing it for you. So by cutting out on the goodbye, you're cutting down on the buildup that leads to your absence. Another thing to combat separation anxiety, or to prevent it at least, is also don't say hello to your dog when you come home. You come home, don't go, again, this is people's needy nature where they come home, they've had a long day, they're tired, they're not fulfilled at their job. I'm being a little bit cynic. I'm sure you love your job, but most people don't. So when they come home, they've had a shitty day already, right? They're just looking for that Friday. So they come home, they've had a long shitty day, they open the door, and after they've had this nice long shitty day, their dog is right there welcoming them, and they're super excited, super pumped. And then they're going, "Oh my God, at least somebody loves me." And now they're just hugging their dogs, they're partying with their dogs, and they're feeling fulfilled. I get it, right? You're needy. But also, you are creating a lot of buildup to your arrival. And you have a dog that is a little bit needy, a little bit on the dependent, handler sensitive side. You are potentially planting the seed or already making this problem a little bit worse than it needs to be. So, not a good idea to do that. Because again, when you do this, you're not doing it for the dog, you're doing it for you. And as long as you understand that, it helps you cut back on it. Because people sometimes believe that, "Oh, well, I'm doing it for my dog because look at him, he's so excited." Your dog will be fine. You don't need to feed into that. And so sometimes people, I've had a couple of times where I've had clients tell me, like, "I can't say hi or I can't say goodbye at all." And I get it. I understand. So I'll tell people, "Okay, look, this is probably going to be harder for you than it is going to be for your dog. So there's a little bit of a compromise. So say goodbye to your dog." Because if I tell them, "Don't say goodbye to your dog, don't say hi to your dog," are they going to do it? They're not. They're not going to stick to it. That's just how it is. They're not going to stick to it. So I'm prepared for that, and I'm just going to tell him, look, you can say goodbye to your dog, but do it about half an hour or so before you leave. Get all the hugs and kisses out of the way, and then for like the next 20 to 30 minutes, don't say anything. Get your goodbyes out of the way, hug your dog, kiss your dog, tell him how much you love him, and then don't say a word after that. And then just slip out, just walk away. And then when you come home, same exact thing. Come home, ignore the dog. This is, by the way, if you want to prevent it, right? Or if you have the problem already and you want to make it less of a problem. Come home and don't say anything. Wait, because your dog's going to be a little bit aroused. They're going to be excited. They're going to be jumping all over the place. Ignore them. Don't make eye contact. I think, again, this is harder for you than it is going to be for your dog. And then you wait about 15, 20 minutes. The dog has completely calmed down from that excitement and that arousal. Then you can go and hug your dog and realize that you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for the dog. That dog's going to be perfectly fine. You don't want to feed into that. So this is how you would prevent it. And now you know why deep down you crave your dog having some separation anxiety. You don't call it that, right? We don't say that. We act like we're doing it for the dog. We act like, oh my God, my dog has a problem, poor baby. No, you have a problem. And you built it up, and you created it, and you made it worse. And as long as you understand that, and as long as you understand that you could also make it better, it just makes things so much easier. If I see the dog, if I'm coming home and the dog's super excited, I completely ignore it. That's not me being harsh. On the contrary, I'm just letting this dog know, dude, it's not a big deal. I just came home. That's it. It's not a big deal. I want my departure and my arrival to not be a big deal for the dog. When it's a big deal, it's bad for the dog. It really should not be a big deal. If I can leave and my dog like doesn't really care, just looks at me and goes, "Oh, cool. Well, good luck." And then when I come home, my dog goes, "Hey, there you are." I'm happy with that. I'm perfectly happy with it. I don't feel like, oh, he doesn't love me. I don't care about that. And you shouldn't either. Your clients shouldn't either. But your average person cares.